Hi everybody. Thank you for joining today to talk about digital acceleration at Levi's. My name's Peter Paterson, I'm the MD of Paragon DCX. Today I'm going to cover how we help Levi's transform their wholesaling process and digitize it to improve their demand planning of getting their products in store around the world by adopting an agile product-based approach. I'm going to talk a little bit about Paragon DCX and to give the context of why they asked us to help them. I'm going to set the scene in terms of what the problem was that we had to solve for Levi's, what we did for them, the solution, and finally the results. So start with a little bit about Paragon DCX. So we help clients maximize the value of their digital investments, so whether that's an existing digital estate or in digital transformation in terms of building new digital products, services, or platforms. We're part of Paragon Group. We're at stand G58 today. We're a 1.2 billion business services organization in 175 locations, 26 countries around the world. And we use people and technology to drive business performance for our clients. Within Paragon DCX is effectively a digital agency within the group. Alongside, we have creative print solutions and customer communications. We're based in London, and we've got about 100 clients in the UK, so we're probably the biggest digital agency you've never heard of. And we provide a range of services around digital experiences, whether that's e-commerce, digital products, websites, platforms, etc., as well as full multi-channel experiences. Some of you might have seen my colleague Steve present on our approach to omni-channel yesterday, and really just focusing on how we use digital to drive value and outcomes for our clients. And some of the solutions that we provide look like cloud data and AI, so we more and more are getting involved in AI, and part of the Levi solution includes AI. As I mentioned, we build digital experiences, whether that's websites, apps, portals, e-commerce, as well as marketing technology in terms of marketing clouds, CRM, loyalty solutions, and single customer views. And then how do we visualize the value of that through data, whether that's behavioral analytics or business performance KPIs. We do that broadly in two ways. We focus on optimization of the existing estate for clients and helping them get better serve their customers, or we help them transform their business or build a digital business. And that's the example I'm going to talk about today with Levi's, how we help them transform their business by building new products and services. So I'm sure most of you have heard of Levi's. They're one of the world's, probably the world's best known denim brand and one of the world's best known clothing retailers. And they had a challenge in that they have to get thousands of products in store around the world at the right time to sell to end customers and maximize profitability. But that's a huge undertaking for Levi's. They have 500 locations around the world. Generally it takes 26 weeks, sort of minimum, from forecasting a product demand for manufacturing to getting it in store. Sometimes it takes more than a year to do that. They have over 2,000 products at any one point in time, and those product ranges change. And then around the world they have 5 different regions with different ways of measuring performance. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of data that they have to understand and process to do that. So they have to manage over 2 billion data points to get those products in store. So how do you do that in a really effective way? And the challenge that they had was quite significant. So 5 years ago they were doing this manually with spreadsheets, and buyers from different stores would turn up at a Levi's location. They would look at products, they would decide what they want. Spreadsheets would be filled in. Spreadsheets would be passed from person to person through Levi's, and it was just prone to inaccuracy. It wasn't very robust, there was lots of failures, and it didn't really meet the needs. And when COVID hit and buyers couldn't visit Levi's locations, the whole process fell apart. So what we did is we worked with Levi's to come up with a solution that could improve the demand forecasting so that they got products in store at the right time. It would be robust and not rely on manual tools, and really was focused on the needs of the buyers who were buying the products and needed to get them in store at the right time. So we looked at this and we thought AI could help us in terms of improving forecasting and looking at trends, but also we understood that the process that they had was not fit for purpose. It was very manually intensive. It used a lot of offline tools like Excel to hold it together, and it just wasn't going to be the right type of solution for the future. So what we decided to do was to rebuild the process from the ground up by building a digital solution using a single interface that everybody involved in the process would use, that would give complete visibility to everyone involved so that they could see where things were at any point in time and create that demand without being error prone or using old tools. So effectively building a digital product to replace an operational process for their wholesaling business. We took a holistic approach to this, so we looked at the business and what the business needs were and how we needed to add value to the business and drive value and maximize profitability for Levi's. We looked at the experience and the users of the system, which would be the Levi stakeholders, as well as the world, and we looked at technology. So we wanted, from a business point of view, to understand, was this a viable solution for Levi's? Would it drive value? From an experience perspective, would it drive usage for the people that needed to use it? Would it be easy to use? Would it make their life easier? And would it be ultimately desirable for them to use it? And then finally, from a technology and data and operational perspective, was it feasible? Could it be delivered within the boundaries that Levi's had around time and cost and operational processes, etc.? So we took that approach. One of the first things we uncovered was that customer segmentation of the buyers in the wholesale process was really complicated. They had lots and lots of buyers around the world in different locations. There's different seasonal needs for each of these locations. Levi's own stores, so some of the buyers are Levi's staff. Levi's franchise stores, so some of the buyers are franchisees. Levi's products are in almost every clothing store around the world, but if it's a department store or a specialist retailer. So, there's third parties buying and partners buying as well. So it's very complicated, and in some markets they're serving different customer segments as well. So a really complicated landscape. So how do you get under the skin of that? We followed a process called continuous discovery. So we interviewed Levi stakeholders as well as buyers from around the world to understand and document the as-is process, understand the pain points, and understand where the opportunities were to improve the process. We did systems and data analysis to understand the underlying systems that we needed to work with, the data that we needed to work with, also understanding the differences between different regions and the variations they had, and really then took a view of how do we standardize this across the globe so that we're serving the needs of the buyers in a single way, and a single process, which would be more efficient for Levi's. We ran a number of co-creation testing with all of those buyers and the stakeholders to make sure that they were involved in the process, and to really understand that the output of that would deliver what they needed, and we turned the output of those co-creation testing sessions into functional designs that we could then test against different types of users. And throughout the process, we built in continuous learning. And the reason for that is, for this to be successful, it needed to be adopted by the users. And so we needed to test that it worked for them, take their feedback and pivot and adapt it as we progress through the process, so that when we came to the outcome, we'd have a solution that they were likely to use and would ultimately drive that value for Levi's. As I explained, there was a really complicated process for Levi's with billions of data points. So we need to consider a lot of different areas to make this product work. So there's the user interface design, as well as an overarching design system, looking at systems and processes, looking at the opportunities to improve the overarching process, as well as how do we manage the data that we needed to, and the end-to-end user experience to make sure it worked for everybody. But we also had to think about having the end in mind around how are we going to measure success. Ultimately, success for Levi's was more profitability, because getting the right products in store at the right time, but also user adoption rates. So thinking about KPIs, thinking about the metrics that are important for users at all levels, whether that's global, regional, or buyers, and presenting that in a dashboard that was really easy to understand. From an interface perspective, we designed something that was familiar. It was a table, but it moved away from customized Excel to something that was much easier to use, much easier to penetrate, much easier to drill down into the details that users were familiar with and that they could customize it for their own needs. We built a design system that could be scaled, so as well as building it for this process, we extended it into other areas in the wholesaling environment. So we built a showrooming application, we built a recommendations engine, we built a post-sale support tool on top of the forecasting tool, so that using the same design system so that we could add more value to Levi's as they extended the digital ecosystem in wholesale. So the platform today is in use. It's driven by AI. It has the interface that I described. Users, it's really easy to use for users, and they can customize it for their own needs. They can drill down into the detail. They can look at a macro or a micro level. The AI, the things that the AI does is the AI takes the demand that's put in by the buyers and it flattens it out to match supply and demand. So that's used by Levi's then to take to manufacturing so that they understand what they've got to make and when they've got to make it and where it's got to go to. The AI also provides predictions based on past trends like sell-through rates and just sales trends, as well as looking at future predictions like fashion predictions or the weather to help the buyers predict what they might need in the future. And the buyers can then look at that and decide whether to accept those predictions or not. So the AI plays quite a big role in making this work successfully. And the key features really of the product are that it encapsulates the end-to-end process around wholesale demand in a single interface and a single solution that everybody involved in that process can use. It's adaptable in that it can be personalized for any type of user, whether they're a global stakeholder, a regional stakeholder, or a buyer, so they can see the data that they need to see and not look at anything that they don't need to see. They can zoom in and out from macro to micro levels to understand how the data is built up. So if they see anomalies, they can drill into that and understand if it's right or not. And as I mentioned, AI helps add value to the forecast by making predictions that the buyers can then decide to act on or not. So what was the results of this? So ultimately, this has been an iterative process. It's still ongoing. We work with Levi's on a daily basis. But what we've done is we've replaced the old manual process with a better AI forecasting tool, which has more accurate demand forecasting. It's provided better ways of working for all involved, so it's easier for them to do, easier for them to create the demand, easier to understand. And the platform's provided a tool that can be extended or is already extended into other areas with digital in the wholesale environment for them. And the outcome, ultimately, is that they took a process which was manual and took weeks and weeks to complete, and it's now down to 2 days. So massive savings in terms of effort and energy and time for Levi's. It's been adopted by a high number of staff across all regions, so it's in use in 80% of Levi's regions, and ultimately the demand forecast has to be reviewed and updated on a regular basis, so it makes that much quicker. And it's saved Levi's money in terms of efficiency. This is just efficiency savings. It's also added value in terms of getting the right products in the right place. So in summary, we've taken a very, very complicated multi-stakeholder, multi-geography, multi-partner problem. With billions of data points, we've replaced a manual process that was using tools like Excel, taken an agile product-based approach to build a digital solution, which ultimately has meant that Levi's demand its forecasting is more accurate. They get products faster to market, or they get them in market at the right time. It's more efficient, and ultimately getting the right products in the right place at the right time is actually making Levi's more money. That was it from me today. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions? No.
For the presentation. If anybody could give you like an advice before the operation starting on the new model,
Yeah.
which would be the advice that
What
would be
advice
had?
would we give if somebody was about to do a similar thing?
Yeah.
I would say making sure you get a thorough understanding of the problem. Understand the problem first before you design the solution, because understanding the problem and the pain points is key to building something that's actually going to work for the business.
And what was the biggest challenge in putting this big AI into your operation?
The biggest challenge is often it's getting stakeholder buy-in. So the business case for this needs to be robust as well. So you need to understand the value that it's going to drive for the business to enable the business to invest in it. I think is one of the key things as well. Yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned that in a first stage you were with Excel tags and everything on it. You started as a parallel way the operations with AI and Excel.
No, the AI was operating in the background before, so it was there, so it was being used for predictions, but it was it was like disconnected. So by bringing it together and integrating it into this solution, that meant that the predictions were brought to life and brought to bear to the buyers at the time of creating the demand. So it's much more efficient to do it that way, and it holds the process together.
Thanks, mate.
That's okay. Thank you.